be with Astea. We are a global provider of service management and mobile workforce solutions. And for over 34 years, we've been helping companies maximize the value of customer interaction through a smarter approach to comprehensive service lifecycle management. Our solutions are offered on-premise or cloud and integrate seamlessly with major CRM and ERP solutions. So today, we're very happy to carry on the tradition. This is the third year that we've been doing a State of Service webinar with Aberdeen, and we're happy to have Ali Pinder, research analyst with the service management practice with Aberdeen Group today. And Ali researches and explores how service and manufacturing executives utilize technology and implement best practices to improve post-sale service and support processes. Through practitioner benchmarking and analysis of Aberdeen's research database, he examines how best-in-class service organizations are reengineering their service chains for improved performance and increased profitability. Coverage areas within the service space primarily cover the following topics on which he has written or co-authored over 40 research reports, benchmarked more than 4,000 service executives with Aberdeen. Core areas of focus: field service and mobility, service parts logistics, warranty and service contract management, reverse logistics, and repair return. Ali is also responsible for the development engagement of the service team's research advisory council, consisting of over 50 senior level service executives. Ali's experience has included responsibilities in both reverse logistics and customer support roles. He has a BA in supply chain management from Northeastern University and a Business of Science and Business Administration from Pepperdine University. So at this time, I am actually going to switch over control to Ali.
Thanks.
More should be yours.
Thank you. Afternoon and morning, depending on where you're calling from, for everyone on the line. I would like to welcome you to this webinar on the State of Service Management in 2014, Creating a Profitable Alliance. My name is Ali Pinder, a research analyst with Aberdeen Group. Today, I provide you with some insight into the Aberdeen research methodology, and in particular, the coverage of our service management practice, just to give you an overview. From there, I will give you insight into the state of the service market in 2014 and the next 12 months, exploring the importance of service and how it has become a driving force for differentiation and customer value. Then I have a roadmap to how your organization can emulate the best practices of the best. I find the strategies and technologies that top performers leverage to excel in areas such as worker productivity, first-time fix, customer satisfaction, and service revenue. And wrap up with some final thoughts and leave some time for Q&A. Once again, feel free to submit questions throughout the webinar. We'll try our best to answer them at the end of the session. So with that, begin with a brief look at the Aberdeen research methodology. Not how familiar everyone is with Aberdeen who is on the call, but Aberdeen, once again, is a third-party market research firm which conducts primary research through surveys on a given set of topics listed here. Our analyst team collects data from practitioners like yourself, analyze the findings to create research content. In particular, I take the lead on service management topics, which Deb outlined, tied to service strategy, field support, and service parts management. All the read we'll see from Aberdeen comes through the lens of two frameworks. The first is our best-in-class maturity framework, which you'll see throughout this presentation. In each of our studies, we ask a series of KPI questions and the top 20% of performers, which are the best in class, the middle 50%, which are industry average, and the bottom 30%, which are laggards. We'll dive into our PACE methodology, which looks at the pressures that impact an organization, highlighting the strategic actions that organizations take to mitigate these pressures, and then look at the internal capabilities and technology enablers that organizations implement to excel. We can then build a roadmap for success for organizations and highlight how an organization can move from laggard or underperforming to industry average and eventually to the best in class. We also understand that even the best in class can improve, so we also provide recommendations on how the best can do better. I hope that gives you a good understanding and introduction to the Aberdeen research methodology. Now let's jump into why you're all here, the data. With a look at the state of the overall service market. Over the couple of months, so in January and February, I've captured data from 170 youth service and manufacturing organizations on a series of topics tied to service strategy, differentiation, and internal profitability aspirations and actions. Now, I know you joined this call because you are at a minimum interested in this topic, but why should your colleagues, employees, and C-suite care about service? This is why. Top performance organizations are able to achieve these types of levels of profitability within their operation. So again, the best in class are top 20% of performers. A 35% margin on service is something that no CEO, CFO, or other executive can turn a blind eye to. This slide is meant to discourage you if your organization isn't seeing these types of returns. I do want to show you the opportunity that is in service. I hear from your peers that service still doesn't get the budget and sometimes not the respect from the rest of the organization to strategically move forward. I hope this gives you momentum and ammunition to show why it is imperative for the whole organization that strives to become a best-in-class performer. Throughout the next 30 minutes, I'll show you some characteristics which will help you all reach some of these dollars. So why service? The story of the best-in-class is the future we all strive to attain, but organizations we sampled are seeing the following as why they have focused on service to drive change. What I'm seeing in these data points is customer spending concerns is about the same from last 12 months ago, but competition and service margin shrinkage has up dramatically as a key challenge to the business. I think this is due to a couple of factors. First of all, the previous slide showed that the value that service can bring to the top and bottom lines for organizations has led to an increase in organizations that are jumping into the service game. So the increase in competition, increased use of more companies looking to this as an avenue for them to reach revenues and profit growth. Manufacturers are no longer the only companies interested and capable of servicing your assets and equipment. Providers are coming in to service the equipment they have in the field, and that's opening up organizations to more competition. But it's a challenge and an opportunity. Organizations that can excel at offering value-added services will be able to reap the benefits of differentiation and ultimately profitability. These challenges may seem daunting, but clearly this is not a dire state. And the reason I feel confident that organizations will get this right is the fact that the majority of organizations sampled have a senior level executive in place leading service strategy. Nearly 10 organizations sampled have a VP or higher executive in charge of service. Service is integral to not only creating a clear vision for how service can become a driver for differentiation and not a cost containment, but there's also help to raise the profile of service up the ladder of the organization. In many conversations with service executives, I still find that it is a challenge for service to gather support for service-specific investments, legal help, and these out of 10 organizations are showing that the VP and above organizations are finding that service can be a strategy moving forward. So you're in place. How are your peers doing? Where are strong, and what are the weaknesses we ask and weaknesses? Ask service executives to rate themselves in the following areas, with 1 being poor, 3 being average, and 5 being excellent. I know this is a bit of an eye chart, but I want to highlight a couple areas that the best in class have excelled. If you're a few slides back, competition, reduced service margin, and reduced customer spending all challenge the service leader. Where the best in class show their mettle. Top performing organizations can focus on delivering a consistent service experience to customers, drive service revenue through exhibiting value, and have the ability to identify profitable customers. We'll click around if they receive different levels of quality depending on how they interact with your organization, whether it be from a field tech, online, or through a contact center. Can you revenues from service if you are retaining only unprofitable customers? Have been able to excel in these areas to drive the type of profitable growth we all aspire to. What I also think is very interesting about this slide is the best in class also recognize strengths in from the right skills to service workers, build an environment of collaboration, and drive engagement. In regard to the research I conduct on service, it is interesting that the top performers have evolved beyond just ensuring they schedule and route the right technician to actually looking at training, engage, and empowerment of technicians to resolve customer issues. So these are strengths, but where can we improve? We're the best in class, still rate above average, but there's definitely room for improvement in a number of areas. I look to drive increased revenue growth from service. The best in class need to work diligently on creating new services and offerings as a result of customer needs and information. Organizations continue to innovate, especially when they innovate based on insight gleaned from the customer. Organizations will truly display the value service offers to become a partner with customers and not just another commodity. Customers settle for the break-fix model. When something fails, the service organization has to fight hard and fight an uphill battle to satisfy that customer. Services to support the customer in designing new products that either don't fail in the first place or can the organization of a future failure will help transform the service organization for the future of the business. And these to improve directly relate to the goals of the service leader. Their peers looking to improve the customer relationship, drive productivity, find revenue streams, and strengthen profitability. These goals are related, but distinction is important. With that set of customer first with efficiency, organizations can be blindsided by escalating costs to deliver the customer's always right type of service. It's to over-deliver for customers cost effectively and get customers to pay for this level of support. One of the challenges we find is, sales is selling service or giving service away for free. How to recoup the value that we're providing from the customer and actually get a level of revenue from that level of service. Organizations need to balance these sometimes conflicting goals to ensure success. From you, what is your top goal in 2014 to help your organization reach service excellence? The choice here, we'll give you a little bit of time to capture your responses. Give it a few more seconds as more polls come in. Deb, I don't know if you're seeing any movement on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see some responses here. And I'm going to, looks like got driving revenues at 20% and improving customer satisfaction at 23%. Drive service resource productivity at 11%. Those seem to be improving profitability is about 5%, and cutting costs is at 4%. I'll close the poll now.
Yeah, once again, having all of these different goals in place, it's hard to just choose one. We definitely see that all of these are initiatives and ways that organizations are looking to sell and drive business. It is interesting to see, the look at customer profitability and cutting costs as being key areas where you can look to improve the business. I have to say that, having goals leads directly to the attainment of these goals. The goal that you listed on a poll doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be able to achieve that. But as all know, there are often barriers to our ability to execute on our best intentions. The top challenges for service organizations is lack of visibility into the value of service and insufficient technology infrastructure. A lead value in service has a trickle-down impact on revenue, profitability, and the ability for the service organization to exceed customer expectations. Users are finding that, once again, sales is giving service away for free to win that next deal. Customers expect that they will receive gold-level support when they pay for a break-fix contract. The team needs to be on the same page in regard to the services that provide it, the value of providing that level of service to the company and the customer, and also, as importantly, the opportunity cost of not doing anything. The barrier to delivering exceptional service is a lack of technology support and in an ever more complex service operation. The volume of data available, changing customer needs, and fragmented and complex service supply chain, organizations need to invest in technology that can support and scale to a growing opportunity. Just about outfielding technicians with the latest iPhones and tablets, or ensuring that every part is linked with RFID tag. The infrastructure needs to support action, visibility, and useful information, which leads to resolution. as organizations get better at showing the importance of service to the viability and profitability of the overall organization, many of these barriers will be diminished. But as leaders, we need to continue to link service to the customer experience and the efficient delivery of outcomes, and not just the team that puts out fires. So now the key challenges, strengths, and weaknesses of service organizations. Let's look at how we can improve and ultimately mirror the best in class. So once again, best in class are the top 20% of performers within the sample, and see they really outperform their peers in a number of categories tied to the customer, operational efficiency and productivity, attainment profitability, and growth targets. Point out that in the right column you can see that all of these are actually showing a negative year-over-year change service profit margin as a result of the way in which their service operations are being managed. This is clearly an area that this group can learn from the best in class. Not that you know what performance will be, but it's important that we look at both the profit side and the cost side of the business and work on both of those to improve the overall margin growth of the organization. For the performance, I want to dive into how you can actually get there and achieve some of these metric improvements. The initiatives that the best in class have implemented within their businesses, but these are the top strategies that have helped them grow. First off, focus on understanding more accurately the future of service need is equal to being able to appropriately resource the operation. How can you service your customers if you don't know how many technicians you will need next Thursday morning? How is that down machine if your technicians don't know what part to carry in their truck? The forecast and plan for future service demand is imperative in ensuring that the service organization can efficiently and cost-effectively deliver a high level of service to the customer. Service launch piece is an interesting strategy that we have seen become relevant over the past couple of years. The volume speed of information both needed and captured has become quite vast. Organizations are finding the need to become more prescriptive in the way in which they provide data to customers, field service teams, and office. Information can be found quickly and used to solve problems. And this available knowledge is through the investment in mobile technology, which can put real-time information at the fingertips of your field team, but also enables them to provide other functions within the organization with the assets, customers, and parts while in the field. The last point, I think, is still one that intrigues me a lot. We have all talked about the service model maturing from a break-fix to predictive and preventive. We saw that in an earlier slide. But I still think organizations struggle with this opportunity. The lack of technology infrastructure, which we discussed earlier, the ability to monitor and resolve issues based on having smart assets and equipment is still a challenge. Showing the value to the customer of a more proactive service offering and why this is not only something that they should pay for, but is something that they should demand is an opportunity to leverage this new model around predictive and prescriptive service. I do, as equipment becomes more connected and service finds the operational and cost efficiencies of not needing to send out the next truck roll, predictive and preventive service will continue to rise in use. For more research on this topic from me and my team, is this something that I think your peers are talking about and actually investing in. Look at the goals around customer excellence, drive revenues, and creating products and services that fill gaps. But how are best in class finding that next big innovation? Or just that untapped value offering that helps support customers? From your customers to find out what is next. Are 40% more likely than the average to proactively capture feedback from customers to help improve. The best in class are also 1.5 times more likely than the average to use customer feedback to evaluate employee performance. A culture of continuously trying to improve both the products and the services being delivered, even down to the technician level. Customer expect that you will continue to improve. So if you aren't, you may want to be aware of the customer that is going to find a new partner to go with. Once again, that competition piece is becoming more of a challenge to your peers. So here's the last poll. Do you currently capture customer feedback after a service visit or call? And I'll have a few moments to weigh in.
Okay, starting to see some results coming in. Now, 80, about let's wait a bit for that to shift. 4% yes. No, plans to in the future is about 28%. No and no plans to around 3%. And then the yes kind of solidified about 64%.
Okay.
So we kind of close that. And yeah, so yes is 64%. No, but plan to in the future 28%. And currently no plans to at 3%. And then 5% just not sure.
So again, most of the people on the call are best in class, and that's good to see. But we definitely want to see that as an opportunity to grow among the ability to capture that customer feedback and bring that back into the organization. First, this data that's being captured by that 64% of organizations actually go. The best class use this insight to not only improve product quality, but also its ability to be serviced in the future. Something has broken or failed, and then using that information to make the future generations of these products either fail-proof or easily fixed by the customer without having to send out that technician will not only alleviate future costly truck rolls, but also helps the customer keep assets up, running, and productive. It's all parties, obviously. It cuts costs for the service organization, improves efficiency for the customer, and it can improve your overall ability to drive revenue. The best in class have processes in place to immediately capture this data, store it for location, and make it available to the relevant stakeholders across the business that can benefit from this insight. We're seeing more collaboration amongst the service organizations, capture data from the field, and communicate with assets and customers, giving that information to the sales organization so that they can have new leads, also to the marketing team so that they can market the products and services appropriately. So again, selling service throughout the organization based off of actually what's happening in the field. That's all great. Listen to customers, use the data to improve products and services. But how to actually get to the dollars, based off of these paper surveys or manual schedules that we're running daily, to actually get real-time view of service execution. For the best class, it all starts with the senior service leader and the C-suite. The class are more likely than their peers to involve C-level executives in driving service automation decisions to enable this level of differentiation in action. And this is important that service executives across the organization understand the value of service, have buy-in as to why technology can support the future of the operation, and are invested in the success. It is in that the all others category is much more likely to leverage functional teams for this type of project. And even it's advisable to have a collaborative team in place to help the rollout and identification of technology. The seniorship needs to be the driving force for a truly strategic program, which both displays accountability for success and investment in its outcomes. Here, many organizations, the CEO still has final approval for major large initiatives. And for this, it is integral that the business cases outlined earlier are shown proving the value of service, profitability, efficiency, driving the customer relationship. What's another eye chart for you, but I want to show you the types of investments that the best in class are making in technology. Tech that enable better intelligence, which leads to resolution, is where the best in class continue to prioritize. Such as around getting better information and transfer of knowledge around the customer and CRM, having more mobile technologies for your technicians in the field, both from an application and a hardware perspective, business intelligence and analytics tools to understand performance, both of products, assets, and the customer, and then the knowledge management piece, so understanding where capturing data in a real-time manner and making that accessible and useful for other aspects of the organization is where your key peers from the best-in-class perspective are prioritizing for the future. What are some new and innovative areas that the best-in-class are leading? Social used to be an area we talk about in our personal and consumer worlds, but I will find out in this survey, what does it mean for service? Near best-in-class currently enable their technicians with collaborative tools to communicate to the back office. The information and the consumerization of mobility and field support has led to this need to ensure that each channel out there can be made available to make communication, collaboration, and assistance available to the service team. And I will be studying more on social collaboration as it's tied to the technicians and to the overall service market. So what is that for me? This is an area where we see more interest. Sustainability, green service has been talked about more frequently in my conversations with your peers. So I find out once again from the best in class if this was something that was a PR initiative or marketing, or if it actually had a place in service. And even though just less than half of the best in class currently have an initiative in place, there's clearly an opportunity and interest to add this in the future. Once again, organizations look for newer ways to drive revenues, cut costs, but ultimately service their customers. No aspect will be overlooked. I want to leave you with 5 questions before we hop into the final portion from a Q&A perspective. Have you created a culture of service? Customers expect more and more from your business. Competition will continue to breathe down your necks. You find that the next innovation way to wow your customers. I hear from organizations that it's not just fixing an asset, it's about what you're doing when you're in front of the customer to drive value within their seeing. So fostering an environment where everyone is a service leader, looking at ways to differentiate and improve will be at the heart of achieving goals around profitability and customer satisfaction. Do you have the right skills or just the right tools? Organizations continue to invest in technology to support better information, but organizations must continue to build skills within the service team to truly become partners with customers, understand their needs, and see the opportunities we have in place. Tech is just one piece of the puzzle. You need to ensure that you're hiring the right technicians, your service workers, and the people that are solving service issues, build bench strength so that you can have the next set of leaders. We're still seeing that talking about the aging workforce as being a challenge for many of the field service organizations. I know we've been talking about this for many years, but as we see technicians and service workers leave the organization, it's important to ensure that you're hiring for the right skills to support the organization and empowering your technicians with expertise on what the customers need in a very dynamic world. Who's service? Don't let service be given away for free. I know I've harped on this topic throughout, but it's because I continue to hear this from your peers. So too valuable, or it should be, and your organizations need to ensure that the sales, marketing, and other teams understand the value of service and can clearly communicate that to the C-suite and to the customer. It's given away for free. Service business growing. The best class are seeing once a 35% service margin. If your service business is not making money or isn't showing that profitability desired, you need to look at the strategies and internal capabilities you have in place and follow the roadmap set by the best. And finally, the next service leader. Your CIO, CTO, CMO need to be advocates for service too. It's not just about the CSO or the service leader, but to make sure that all the way down to the front line technician, you are building service leadership, because it is your face to the customer. Customers are not only the way to the first dollar based on that initial sale, they're also the path to the next dollar. We continue to find that organizations are finding how they're gaining the most level of profit and revenue share coming from referrals and coming from customers being sold to more value-added services and not just that initial service contract around a break-fix maintenance. You need to look at building a culture of service, building that next service leader, and having service leaders throughout the organization to ensure that you're drawing at the value that your customers need and expect. And now I think we have a few moments, Deb, for a few questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone that has any questions, there's a Q&A section, or if it's easier, you can just shoot a question in the chat box as well. There was one question, and talking about the service industry being so diverse, interested in understanding a breakdown of industry type for future surveys, medical, professional services. What might be helpful is to maybe just even show a breakdown of the ones of the industries that you used for this. So I know that you've got a slide that might help, and then my guess is maybe they're looking at for additional breakdowns and
right.
and some of the responses.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. That's a great question. do want to make that available to you. So of the 170 organizations that sampled, this gives you some insight into some of the companies that came through the survey. So as you can see, we're capturing data from, industrial equipment manufacturers, medical device companies, telecommunications, computer equipment hardware, and auto manufacturers in this sample around the state of service. So it's some of the data you saw. We saw just about half of the organizations come from North America. I was really happy about seeing, nearly a third of the companies coming from Europe. We definitely value the research and the respondents for many of the companies' names you see here. We're continuing in future research to look at key industries that are differentiating within the service side of the business. So looking at services being strategic. So we're seeing that med device, telco, computer, from a high-tech perspective, and equipment manufacturers are leading the way from a differentiation perspective. They're investing the most in this side of the business. But we're actually looking and finding more companies from oil and gas and other industries that are just starting to learn a little bit more about the value of service. And we're going to continue to look at all industries to see how they're being represented in this sample. That answers your question.
Great. When you find there's another question, when you're doing service management, are you including technical support, for example, help desk?
So we don't consider the internal IT services team as part of this sample. It's more so dealing directly with the customer. So if you provide some level of customer support to an outside customer, so your customer's customer, then yes, it would be considered part of from a help desk perspective. But we don't look at it as I for Aberdeen if I want my internal help desk that being part of the service management space. We do practices dedicated to that for contact center and CEM perspective. So if you want detail on some of that research, we'll definitely be open to passing that along.
Great. Another question, and then we'll move on and let everybody get back to their day jobs. How were the groups identified? For example, best in class versus the laggards, and the process for identifying who fits in which group.
We looked at 3 metrics to define the best in class. So we wanted to find out organizations that had the top customer satisfaction scores, organizations that were actually profitable, so from a service margin perspective, and we also looked at retention as being the areas to build the best in class. From that, all the other metrics that you saw on that sheet were based off of that kind of level set. So those were the metrics we used to set the best in class, and then from there we were able to look at the other key GI and see how they performed against their peers.
Okay, great. Well, if I haven't gotten to everybody's questions, I will make sure that I send your questions and your information over to Allie if there's something specific, and make sure that we get those answers to you. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time out of your day. We will be making the presentation and the recording available in the next day or so, and we'll be sending an email out with the link so that you can access that. And a very special thank you today for sharing this information with us. We're happy to continue the tradition of presenting this to everyone on a yearly basis. So thank you, Allie, and thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. Have a great day.